About this is you can actually use the exact same filters to filter your newsfeed. A scanner is going to return tickers to you based on the filters that you set up. It might be convenient to see the news for those same tickers, and this is how you can do that. So we call it scanner because it uses the same filters from the scanner. So if I click on this and I click on the search bar and I say price, now I can actually filter my news feed by price. So if I go ahead and click on this, you'll notice that price is here. I can click on the drop down. I can select some of the presets that we have, or I can select custom. And in here is where I can say, I want to only see news about stocks between $1 and $45. Now that I've entered that and I click done, you'll notice that all of the different tickers in here meet my criteria. WIBA is 1873, and I can go so on and so forth down the line. Now, keep in mind here, some of these tickers that have the plus number, that means that the stock or the news post applies to not only the ticker displayed, but any additional tickers listed when you mouse over that. Some of these might not fit the criteria, but if one of them does, you'll still see that piece of news. So in other words, if a piece of news comes out about multiple assets and not all of them meet your filter, as long as one of them does, you're still going to see that piece of news in the newsfeed. One more thing to talk about while we're here, you'll notice that there's this little green up arrow. It's actually two little green up arrows. This is a sentiment indicator. And you'll notice that these are not on every news post, but they are on some of them. And this is basically the news desk telling you, hey, that this is a bullish piece of news based on history, or this is a bearish piece of news. You'll notice right beneath this example, we actually had a downgrade. In this case, these are upgrades and downgrades on specific stocks. These are absolutely drivers of price action. This scale ranges from 3 down arrows all the way to 3 up arrows, and then everything in between. So 3, 2, 1, and then nothing. Okay, let's talk about some more filters that you have here. We were just talking about the scanner tab. Again, these are the exact same filters that are available to you in the scanner. I encourage you all to play around with this. Next, we have watch lists, and this is really cool because you can actually filter your newsfeed based on a watch list. Now, one of the cool use cases of this is, let's say you actually linked your broker to Benzinga Pro. What that did was that created a watch list of your current account positions that are dynamic, which means it changes as those positions change. If you apply that filter to your newsfeed, now you have a newsfeed that's only showing you news about stocks that you own, and it should require very little maintenance. So really cool. You can apply multiple watch lists here. You can add them, remove them, do whatever you need to do. You can filter your newsfeed by any of the watch lists that you have created. Remember, just as kind of a generality in Pro, when you are creating watch lists, you're actually creating a filter that can be used in many of the different tools. Okay, next here is going to be the notifications button, and the only notification that you currently have for newsfeed is a pop-up when a new piece of news meets or populates in this newsfeed. So if you don't apply any filters and you turn this on, you're going to be getting a lot of pop-ups on your computer. If you make a very specific newsfeed, those pop-ups are obviously going to be not as frequent and should also be higher quality content because you're filtering for stuff that you care about as opposed to just some of the random general news. Okay, next here is going to be price, market cap, and volume. These are the exact same things that we just took a look at in the scanner screen. These are just quick adds. So, right, so price, market cap, and volume, these are things that people would very frequently filter their newsfeed by. So we just kind of put them here as a quick access. It is obviously maintained my $1 to $45 filter that I entered on the previous screen. I'm going to go ahead and click any just to kind of reset that, and then we'll go ahead and click off of that and close it. You can do this here with market cap, volume, or price. Now, the last thing that you can do here is going to be the jump to date. So for example, let's say you can obviously go back in time by scrolling the news feed, but that goes just one record at a time. It might take you a long time to scroll back several weeks or, a year or something like that. So we actually give you a jump to date feature. So if I, for example, wanted to click on this and I wanted to go back to March 2020 because that was such a fun time, I can go ahead and actually click on that. Oh, you know what? I think I need to click the time first. I beg your pardon. So now we'll go March 2020, 8 a.m. All right, here we go. I've selected Sunday, March 1st, and I've jumped all the way back to March 1st, 2020. You can, of course, scroll up or down right from here. So again, if you need to go back in time a considerable length of time, you can absolutely do that. Click on the jump to date button. And then also when you're viewing the news feed at some point in the past, if new news has come out for that particular feed, it's going to remember where you're looking, but it's going to tell you right here at the top, hey, there are 2 new stories that have populated. If I simply click on that, notice now how it returns me right back to where I was. I'm at Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024, and I have the most recent news here. So that's how you can use some of these different filters. Now, it doesn't stop there. We have some other functionality here to really kind of help you drill down to what it is that you're looking for, and that's going to be the search bar. So first of all, if I just click on that, you'll see some of the options that you have. It's always going to default to the All tab. The All tab is going to display several trending keywords, as well as several symbols and recent keywords that you have used anywhere throughout the platform as kind of like a recents list. You can also narrow this down. So if I click on symbols, it will only show me recent symbols that I've entered in my platform. If I click on watch list, it will allow me to very quickly filter by a watch list that is in here. This is the real cool one though. If you've set up a custom scan like I have here for main or for high short interest, you don't need to reapply those same filters to your scanner section of the newsfeed. Once you save your scan in Scanner, you can then load it here in the newsfeed. So I'm going to go ahead and click on high short interest. You'll see it applies the exact same filters as I have in my high short interest scan here, and it will go ahead and filter this list for me. So again, very easy way to kind of use this. You don't really have to duplicate things. If you spend time setting up something and you save it, you can then use that again in the future. Let me go ahead and clear this off here. Last one here is going to be linking. If you've used brokers like Thinkorswim, you know that you can link these tools together so that they update based on what you click on. And then also for keywords here, it's going to show you some trending as well as some recent keywords. But I want to show you the last really cool thing about the search bar here, and that is going to be the ability to enter custom tickers and keywords. So let's say, for example, you only wanted to see news about Apple. Well, I can go ahead and type in Apple here. It's going to show me a symbol or a keyword. We want the stock, so we're going to go ahead and select symbol. Now it's only showing me news for Apple. Remember, some of these that show a different ticker, like this QQQ here, it also has +7. If we take a look at that, it will list the other 7 stocks that this news story applies to, and voila, Apple is one of those. So of course, you see this newsprint. But it can go a step further than this. Let's say you wanted to do Apple or NVIDIA. Okay, well, here you go. It's basically just adding the news from NVIDIA to your Apple news feed. But we can actually take it a step further. You didn't think I was going to stop there. Let's go one step further. Let's go ahead and actually change this to news that applies to Apple and NVIDIA, meaning only show me news that is relevant to Apple and to NVIDIA. And all I have to do is click on the drop down here of the or operator, and I can select either and or not. In this case, I'm going to select and. Voila, you can see that the entire newsfeed has changed and it is only showing me news that applies to both of these companies. The other thing that I can do is I can actually create a Boolean search. Let's go ahead and add SMCI here. You can see it's got to be either Apple and NVIDIA, or it has to be SMCI. So again, you can come up with incredibly complex search parameters here in your search bar. This is what really separates Benzinga Pro from the competition. There's not a lot of ways to control news feeds in other platforms, but here in Benzinga, you can do almost anything you can come up with. Let me give you another example here for keywords. I'm going to go ahead and type in FDA and then approval. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and change the or operator to and. And now what I have here is only show me news that contains FDA and the word approval in the piece of news. And here are the results. I can actually take this a step further, however. If I click on either one or all of the keywords here, you'll notice that there is a couple of options here. You can group, you can change it from and or to not, you can delete it, or you can change the search toggle. So by default, anytime that you enter in a ticker or a keyword, it's going to search the full text, which means it's going to look in the headline as well as in the body. And if it finds that term, it's going to return that piece of news. But you can actually change this. If I change this from full text, if I just click on it, you'll notice that the icon now is different. I only have this blue bar on the left-hand side. And if I click on it again, it says my current search mode is title. So what that means here is that FDA has to be in the title and it has to include the word approval, but the word approval can be anywhere. It can be in the title or it can be in the body. So you can really get an idea of how specific and how complex you can actually make some of these search parameters. The more complex you make it, you should expect less news to be populated there because, again, what you're doing is eliminating the noise. Once you do that, now would be a great time to click on notifications because anytime I get a new post in this newsfeed, I'm going to get a pop-up about it. So if I'm looking at a different monitor here and there's a piece of news that comes out, I can still be alerted to that if I have the notification setting on. By the way, that notification is going to be the bottom right on PC, upper right on Mac. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and turn that off. One more thing that I wanted to mention here is that if you click on this icon in the upper right corner here, this will allow you to see the news as title only, title and abstract, or full body here. So if you don't want to have to click on this and you just want to see the news, you can set that here. For my own personal use, I leave it on title only. And that way, if I need to look at any of the news or if I need to see what else is on here, I can just simply click on it and I will see the rest of that news. I hope you found this video helpful and we'll see you in the next chapter.